Good morning, Tracy. It is Thursday. Again, another show of Pivot Point Live. Just want to give a shout out to our Olympians. We're kicking butt over in Paris.
That's right.
Cheers. Support our teams. Go USA. How you
Yes.
doing this morning?
I am doing amazing, Paul. Thank you for asking. It looks beautiful where you are. It's not as altogether green here where I am. It's a little bit more burnt and brown from the 100+ temperatures that we've been having. But I'm doing amazing, and I love this summertime leading into fall.
Yeah, I'll jump on now for one quick second. Right now, it's a nice, crispy 58 degrees out. It's
Wow.
cold as hell here.
Wow.
We are struggling. We're going to struggle to make 70 today. It's
In August.
in August. I've honestly, never seen that in the People's Republic of Minnesota. I've never. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say that out loud?
That's hilarious.
So, yeah, absolutely. So it's kind of chilly here today, and I'm outside on the deck and going, maybe I should have been inside, but the lighting's better out
It
here.
still looks beautiful from my side, and man, 58 degrees. Woo! I'm going to have to use that one, the People's Republic of Minnesota. That's hilarious. So today, Paul, as we were talking just before before we went live today about businesses and some struggling, some dying, some failed as of 2020, and even beyond that, they hobbled through, made it through COVID, and then for whatever reason they died. What are some of those reasons? And so for our guests and those that are our viewing audience, those tuning in today, we'd like to discuss, get our scalpels out and do a post-mortem, what Paul calls it. I call it the autopsy of a dead business. What happened? It was a great idea. It was rocking and rolling for a little while. And then for whatever reason, a couple of years in, likely, it died and it had to close its doors.
Yeah, I know when we were talking about doing this episode that Gavin, our producer, picked out a bunch of giant corporations to autopsy, like Toys R Us and all that. And I really don't think that's a relevant conversation for the small business.
Mm-hmm.
So what I would love to do in this whole kind of episode is kind of to approach this from the point of, okay, I need to keep an eye out for these things as I'm growing my business,
right?
So that I can avoid making some of these mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
So as opposed to autopsying any particular company, I really want to talk about, if you don't mind, I want to talk about, the things that drove a lot of businesses. You made a mention in our conversation about, the average small business is out in 10 years. And I think there's a big, deeper discussion on that, because I think you got to categorize them and move them to the side to figure out why each group kind of went down. But let's really kind of wrap this around the small business. And, as a business coach or as a consultant or whatever, what you've seen that really drove a business's growth curve down and have them heading towards the ultimate death of the business.
Yeah, well, excellent. I love that. I love that little pivot within our Pivot Point Live. And that gives us the freedom to discuss, and everybody that's watching this, Paul and I usually go into these unscripted and without notes, but the topic, because it resonates with us, and that's what we love sharing. Paul, I was thinking this last week, one of the things that it just came up again and again and again with several different businesses that they've been in business for like 5 years, 7 years, and there seems to be this. I don't know if it's a fear, maybe it's a lack of awareness in regards to expansion, about how that takes place. It's the mom and pop. They've been doing it, and they're doing it successfully. There's a guy in the Netherlands that I'm coaching with right now, and he has brought his business up to about 1.2 million, and over the last 10 years. But he knows that there's more, and there's this resistance within him to he feel like he's given the keys to the castle to somebody if he brings them on to help him out, but he knows he can't grow without doing that. So it seems like to him, for my side, a fear of expansion. In others, maybe it's just a disregard for it, the belief that, like if I'm not doing it, who will? So maybe we can speak into that about like that growth.
Well, yeah, and that's very common with the solopreneur, right? The single guy. He's been doing business, whatever the business is. He does it by himself. He's got, he may have his processes documented or may not. He has his way of doing things, and he's grown it to 1.2 mil, and it's his baby. He grew it from birth, and now it's a teenager. And, he doesn't want anybody else having influence on his business. And the problem is, as a business owner, nobody can do your business as well as you can.
Mm-hmm.
Straight out.
Right.
No one.
And no one cares about your business as much as you do.
As much as you do. And then when you bring someone on board, you give up a little control. Right? You give up control. So number one, you give up control, but you also give up some productivity, right? Because they can't do it but think about it. You're not giving up productivity because the most you can give into your business is 100%. Exactly. That's it.
Yep.
I hear the 110%, but there's no such thing. There's 24 hours in a day. You have to sleep some amount of them, let's say 8. And you could give 100% of yourself for, the non-sleeping hours in the day to your business. And that's it. That's as much as you can do. You can add a little efficiency to what you do if you're smart, but that's pretty much it.
Mm-hmm.
But think about if you hire 2 people onto your business that can only give 80%. Those 2 people, that's right.
160% more.
That's 160% more than you can do.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I mean, just straight out the numbers work. The only way to expand your business and to keep it from, and the other side is disaster recovery, right? Mm-hmm. If I'm a solopreneur and I operate a business and I'm the only employee and I get hit by a car next week, what happens to the business?
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
I
am the business.
I am the business. So therefore the business is over.
Mm-hmm.
And you only have so much time before it's really over, right?
Yeah.
Something happens, you're an old man like me, you have a heart attack, whatever happens, there's nothing that keeps the business moving forward. Mm-hmm. So, that's a good point from that 10-year plan. A lot of that does happen. Solopreneurs, which are a good chunk of business, probably 25%.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Something happens.
Yeah. What about
they get a divorce? It doesn't have to be a death.
Absolutely.
They get a divorce. They get sidetracked. A kid gets sick. All kinds of things happen, and all of a sudden you can't focus on the business. And it's not that your customers don't care, but over time they're going to find the product or service somewhere else that can deliver. They can't wait for you. They will for a short period of time if you have a good relationship, but it's not like sustainable, right?
If I was a speaker and my voice goes out, I mean, like I can't speak anymore. So I can't I think one of my fears, if I was a solopreneur and I was growing this, man, I'm doing great and everything, but I am the business. And my greatest fear for my family would be not that I died, because then, maybe I have an insurance policy that takes care of them or something like that, in the event of my death, if I'm planning ahead. But what if I survive, but I'm a vegetable? I'm here, but I can't do anything. And then like everything that I built is gone down.
Paul, I mean, that even goes long term, right? One of my favorite 80s bands, Aerosmith.
Yeah.
Right. They were on tour this last week, and Steven Tyler was diagnosed with a throat issue. He can't sing anymore. It's done. Business is dead.
Wow.
Right. I mean, they obviously, based on who they are and their track record, they're going to have royalties coming in from all the stuff they've done over the past 45 years. But new business is over.
Yeah, it's not music tours, it's book tours, it's biographies and things like that they have to do now. Talk shows, radio broadcasts, things like that they don't have to sing to. Yeah, they're not going to be on Howard Stern anytime soon, probably to sing.
Yeah. So,
What,
but the
what
point
kind
is, is you if you want your business to continue, it's a matter of perspective. You want your business to continue and hopefully continue growing in your absence.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the ultimate point here,
Yep.
is that you have to be planning your business to work without you. You
Mm,
should always, it should generate and grow without you. So you have to put plans and processes and people in to do
yeah.
that.
So
Otherwise, your business is going to die.
I was thinking, yes,
That's simple.
absolutely. And so with the fear of expansion, what about the fact of over expansion? And this just came to me when we were talking about it, like, you know what? I've also talked with people that they they got big so fast, or they saw the market share, they just dove in and they stretched themselves too thin. Is that a likely reason for a business to be able to corrupt quicker?
It can be so that's a growing infrastructure with revenue equation, right? I need to continuously understand my revenue stream and how it's growing so that I can make sure that I have the infrastructure and support to support the customers in that particular business. Um, but it happens in small increments, right? So let's say we're selling something and all of a sudden unexpectedly I get a government contract, or I get a deal with Costco, and
Hmm.
now I've got to deliver 300,000 units,
Yep.
and I've got 3 employees. How the hell am I going to do that? Okay. And that's a number one. I got to negotiate some time with Costco so I
Mhm.
can build my infrastructure to support that deal, and I should be thinking about that in my discussions with Costco, and be transparent, right?
Mhm.
In fact, I just did this a couple of weeks ago. We got a large order for one of our products, and the first thing in the conversation is says, "Hey, I'm not going to be able to deliver for 90 days
Mhm.
because I don't have the resources to be able to do that." But that particular customer goes, "Hey, 90 days is perfect because we got to get our
Mhm.
location set up for this and blah, blah, blah." And we worked it out that I'm going to deliver a half load to them in 45 days so they can get their stuff set up. And then we'll come with the rest of the load in 90. So I was totally transparent with the customer and was able to put together a deal that works for both of us
Mhm.
because it's a pretty cool product and they want to have it.
Yeah.
Um, and so we were able to do that. But understanding my infrastructure and ability to deliver at this point, I couldn't support a Costco unless I had 6 months to get things in order. I know that.
Mhm.
So if I accidentally get a Costco deal, I'm going to be transparent with a
Yeah.
Costco and
Mhm.
go, "Hey, I'm not going to be able to deliver for six
What a
months."
great tip, Paul. I mean, like to know I know what I can do and I know what I can't do, and I'll not, like promise you something that it's not likely that I can deliver upon.
And the point here is, you said over expansion. It's not. I don't believe in that term. I believe in uncontrolled expansion.
Hmm.
It's not controlled because you haven't anticipated the amount of infrastructure that you need to build in to deliver your product and continue that revenue stream, which translates into poor customer service.
Yeah. Well, boom. There you go. Number three. That was
Yeah.
one that I was thinking of too. If you were to autopsy a business that, hey, how did they fail? They had uncontrolled expansion. They refused to delegate, to elevate, to expand. But what about the way that they're treating their customers?
Well, that again, you got to back that up to, how many episodes have we done on vision, mission, and values? Back
Sure.
that up. Are you hiring the right people? And then generally, bad customer service usually is bad support for the employees, and it goes
Mhm.
back to the executive,
To
right?
leadership.
It's like, how am I treating my employees? Are they excited about my product? Are they excited about my service? And are they excited about my customers? And if those three things aren't true, then they're not going to serve your customer well.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you got to put the right people in the right seats,
Yeah.
right? There's the guy that's in the back fulfilling because you don't want him touching the
And that
customer.
goes for the C-suite also, right? People
And that goes for the C-suite because you have to be following that guideline or that um, process of who I am and how I feel about my company and my product. That's gotta flow all the way through to the person that's in front of the customer. And if any part of that's broken, you are going to experience unnecessary poor customer experience.
I've heard it
there is necessary poor customer experience, right? Because we got to fire some customers. Some customers are you cannot take care of, and you need to find a way to hopefully quietly get them not buying your product or service and continue on with the customers that do that.
Two thoughts that come to my mind when you're sharing that. And I love how we talked about the customer experience, and then also blending this with a number 4 of leadership and management. I mean, like if everything rises and falls on the leaders, I've heard it said that you can't build a strong customer culture on the back of a weak team culture, and that team culture is determined, like you said, by the leadership.
Yep,
and so
I would
stop saying this dead business. What was your culture like based on and the leaders like do as I say, not as I do. That doesn't work in business. That mentality of like I really want our customer satisfaction scores to go up. Well, then treat us right. Like they're just emulating the boss. They're emulating the leadership. I know it I know it's true in my children. Like sometimes my children are like a mirror to me. And when I see something about them, they're like, man, that's strange, or I don't like that behavior. I have to take a look in the mirror and like, I wonder where they learned it.
So this is walking a line between two towers, right? I half agree with you, right?
I'll take the positive 50%.
You have to do it well, but ultimately you build a process and you get buy-in to that process, but it is the way it needs to be. So you have to train your staff to operate in that process. So there is a level of it's that way because this is the best process to do this in. There's a fine line between being an overbearing micromanaging boss, which is what we're talking about, and a boss who lets his employees run him.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a fine line. You can't.
That's not a boss at all. That's a puppet. That's
right. So I mean, I would never want to purport that you can't be a boss and put processes in and control your organization so that you're hitting the numbers that you need to hit. How you go about that is really key. But on the other side is you don't want weak management either, because nothing will ever get done. Right? If we let everybody make all the decisions and do it the way they want to do it, then there's no process and nothing will ever get done. So this is truly a tightrope, is to understand how to treat your employees well with maintaining commitment to your process and to your vision.
Yeah.
Right.
Excellent. Love it. Well, what if we got to talk numbers. We got to talk the financial side. If we were going to autopsy a business that has died, and we got our scalpels out, and we're both looking at it from our perspective of business coaches and your many years in corporate America, if you're looking at this dead business, what are we seeing on the financial side that led to some level of demise that contributed to it?
I think a complete lack of understanding of your cash flow is it would probably be the biggest one, and the the fear and inability to use debt to grow your business would be number one. In my industry, we call it bootstrapping, we bootstrap the business and we try to run the cash based on how much cash we got coming in. But you have to understand your cash flows. You have to know when to borrow money to apply leverage to grow the business. And I think that's from a financial perspective, I think that's the biggest struggle small business owners have. Because I mean, I don't want to borrow $100,000, and be on the line for that. When again, the mindset has to shift. It's not me paying the interest; it's my customers paying the interest, right?
Exactly.
And it's well placed leverage, which is financial leverage, can speed your business growth up considerably. And and there's a lot of ways to do that. There's all kinds of there's factoring and all this type of stuff, but it's like I said in our last one, sometimes it's just piss poor planning. Okay, it's like I want to hit this, and everything seems to be a surprise. So going back to sitting down twice a week for 2 hours and thinking about your business from a strategic perspective, and start identifying opportunities to grow the business and identifying the risks that are inherent in those growths, and then applying some financial principles to know when you need to leverage to have inventory or people or that type of thing to continue that growth and serve your customers well. Because the one thing that's not going to happen is if you don't have the money to serve your customers, again, that goes back to piss poor customer service, and you lose your customers and you miss your growth. So kind of understanding your cash flows, and some companies have seasonal cash flows, right? They're only open for 8 months, and they make all their money in 8 months, and then they got 4 months that they're off, and they're trying to do that, and they get in trouble because they're spending it all in the wrong things during the 8 months, and then they have no money to plan for the next 8 months and how to grow that business. There's so many scenarios out there, but it's just really getting with, and a lot of, and I think accountants get their companies in trouble because they're very conservative. It's always cost restriction, a cost restriction mentality where maybe a fractional chief financial officer who thinks from a revenue standpoint and growing the business can be more beneficial from the strategic perspective of the business and helping with the cash flows than an accountant may be. And
kind of I like how we're going through this. You can start to see how things are connected, where you have this maybe this visionary leader that's hey, let's take the risk, but they've got this CFO that's no, we're risk averse, and we want to contain, and we need to grow this and everything. Well, what good is that money in the bank if we don't making money with it? Like there can be a conflict right there, and not understanding.
Yeah, and a CFO looks at things a little differently than an accountant, right? Accountant is about bookkeeping. It's about bookkeeping and documentation, right? That's what accounting is.
But in small businesses, they may be one and the same.
They may be one and the same, but when you look from a CFO perspective, now you talk about modeling. Mm-hmm. What happens if we do this? What kind of money do we need to pull in to do this? If we get this, or if we get a loan, what's the payback period, and how much do we have to grow for our customers to service that loan? And and if we go in this direction, or if we bring on this person, and they're going to create a new revenue stream from this area, how's that going to look? What kind of support do we need? And start planning and modeling what that growth is going to be. And every business should do this. I don't care if you're a convenience store that's planning on opening another convenience store somewhere else, or if you're a fast food restaurant, or all that. We should model the outcomes, and then look at those what if scenarios. What if this happens? That's a risk. Yeah. What's the odds of it happening? Weight it, right? What's the odds of that happening? Is it really low or really high? And take some time to kind of understand if you're going to make a move, so that you can ultimately have a few pivot points in place. Yeah. if certain risks become reality.
Yeah. I
And
wonder
understanding that.
if we were to ask our audience right on that one right there, guys, when I'm listening to Paul on this financial piece, this is bigger than just one side note in an autopsy. This is a big piece. We ought to bring an episode to our audience on this particular piece right here.
Well, and I don't want to go. I'm not the financial expert, so I just want to put that out there right now. I would
would
want to bring
imagine both
someone.
of us combined have some tips that we could help.
We do, but I would want, if we get into this modeling discussion, I've done a lot of modeling from that standpoint, but I would want a CFO to talk about how to apply that
That
from
sounds like
a
a good.
cash flow perspective. So that might be a good guest time, because I can talk to it up to about 25,000 feet, and then once you go below, get in the trees, that's where I go. Hands off. I want
Yeah.
my buddies to take care of
Yeah,
that.
I can watch it from the ground, taking
Yeah.
off, and then after that,
Yeah.
losing in the clouds. So
Yeah.
here's another one, Paul. You brought this up. You said this, and you're kind of teeing up each one that I'm thinking of. Like you said, piss poor planning or inadequate business planning, and I was thinking about a business plan. Like, what was the business? What was the plan? Like, was there a plan? Was it documented? So everyone could see it. Was it known by all? Was it repeated? Kind of like the vision, mission, and values. Like when you ask people about, hey, what's your company values? Oh, I've got them written down somewhere. Like, but it's not internalized. Like, what's your mission? Let's see. I think it's on the wall when you come. I think it is. Well, what is it? Well, but so like a business plan is generally not internalized. Maybe it's like we're just kind of doing it.
A business plan should, and again, you model, then you plan, because you got your data from your model. Then you plan out what you're actually going to do, and then you assign metrics to that, and you measure your performance across the board, so that you can once you've identified the risk in your modeling, those are the metrics you want to measure by in your business plan, and then you want to measure. Right? Am I performing, or are these risks popping up? And I need to come out. How are we performing to plan? I mean, what was your plan next year? You're going to hit, $2 million, and you had to hire 3 people to get 3 salespeople to get that done. And the salespeople need to sell X.
Yeah.
Are they selling X? Are we measuring? Do they have enough leads in the pipeline to get to the proposals, to get to the deals? Are they performing along that line? Is my delivery staff or my service staff performing, and they're executing based on the time periods we had planned for them to be able to execute on these particular projects? Yeah. Are they behind schedule? Are they ahead of schedule? Is my R&D people, are they hitting their spots? Is the new product coming to? If I haven't planned any of that out, how can I measure it?
Yeah. And so, what I found on the planning side is I've been with organizations where they do quarterly plannings, but then I've been in some companies that before we came in, there was an annual thing. And then, so like at the end of the year, like, oh man, we shoulda, we coulda, we woulda, but you didn't, because you didn't notice it until the end of the year. Versus what if you would have noticed 2 weeks into it, you could have made just a slight course correction, because it wasn't in line with Q1 what the plan was. And then when Q2 we made this shift and this adjustment, and then all these weeks of updating and knowing your numbers, you can make those slight adjustments instead of having to like jerk the steering wheel, at the new year. Because so I've found that some businesses are only doing a plan if they're doing a plan, they're doing it annually instead of quarterly, and they're not looking at it weekly.
Yeah, and this just goes right down to key performance indicators. There's a reason that term is named as it is. It is a key performance indicator. So when that little KPI turns red, we know we're not going to hit our numbers at the end of the year. Yeah. If it's red the whole year through, we're not going to hit our numbers, because it's a key performance indicator. Now, if it turns red the first month, then I get to ask why, and I get to make a pivot or adjust how we're doing things, so I can turn that sucker green. and then continue on. And second quarter I need to overperform because I underperformed first quarter to catch back up so I can hit my number. But if you're not looking at those numbers and you haven't identified KPIs or key performance indicators that tell you, it's a speedometer, man.
Mm-hmm.
If the speed limit's 55 and you're registering 45, you're not going to get to your destination on time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's straight out.
Yeah.
Okay, that's simple.
So like the one thing that I was thinking on when you said the KPIs, like what are your reviews saying? What are your customers saying about you? And maybe there's and it could be a standalone as far as customer feedback. You mentioned something to me a little while ago about overanalyzing customer feedback and allowing it, like what a customer's saying, to define you, where you get paralyzed. Oh no, what are people saying about me? But then also not seeing the value of what people saying, that, whether you know it or not, that's their experience, and their experience is the reality.
You need more data. I mean, ultimately, you have to pay attention to who is your ideal customer, right? And it's that ideal customer that you want to make sure is there. There are customers that aren't your ideal customer. The product wasn't right for them in the first place. The service wasn't right.
Yeah.
We're talking about customer product fit, and it wasn't right, and they're not going to have a good experience because they bought something that they didn't really need, and they're going to complain about it. You have to be careful that that you're getting more data. If you are pinging your customers and you're surveying them about the product and what you could do to improve the product, and you've got 60% of your customers that say, I would like to have this feature in this product and make it so much better.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I pay attention to that 60%, but if you got 1% saying it,
yeah.
Are you going to devote that amount of resources to product improvement that's going to help or help's the wrong word, but satisfy?
Why can't
1%? I want to satisfy the 60%, not the 1%.
Yeah.
So I need to pay attention. If there is a problem, and this, if the argument's customer service, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about, product development, improving product, and making.
We're talking about like going to Chick-fil-A and expecting to get a cheeseburger. I mean, like,
you're not there, or Arby's and get a cheeseburger. What's that all about?
Yeah, that's not what they're selling.
That's not why I go to Arby's. Is not for a cheeseburger. I'm not going to say that. But anyway, point being is, I need data. Okay, if I get a bunch of complaints about a certain one, I want to reach back out to those customers and find out why. I want to survey them. I want to understand them. But I don't want a knee-jerk reaction when one or two complaints come in and go, we need to change the product, because that takes time, manufacturing and all that stuff. Or change the service takes time, changing processes and all that. I want to make sure that it is going to hit the brunt of our customer base, not just the 1%.
Yeah.
So a knee-jerk reaction is bad. Understanding and getting more data is good, but not to get to analysis paralysis where you sit and not respond for a long time. You need to get your stuff together quickly and validate and then execute.
Yeah. I was thinking when you were saying that, I was thinking about like when you're analyzing the feedback, and if you're controlled by the customer's feedback and you lose your own identity, I don't even know who I am and what I got in this. So I'm thinking of two quick service restaurants that serve the same product. One of them is much, much larger, and they got that way, but now they, like, I forget, like, what do you guys make again? I mean, I know it's tacos, but like, you got this flour tortilla wrapped around this corn tortilla which is a Dorito shell, which you can get like this, and like a couple of shreds of cheese, and like the quality's gone down. And now it's like, I don't even know like what to order at, and I don't ever go to the Bell. I don't go there anymore. But basically, I'm just like, I don't know who you are anymore. Like when I was a kid, I loved Taco Bell. I loved it, but like I knew what I was getting. And now, like there's another place in the Midwest called Taco Casa. They have 16 menu items. That's it. They do not put anything. I mean, like they are. Listen, if you didn't want these, then maybe you need to go somewhere else. You know, like because these are the items that we serve.
But that goes to the point of you lost vision of who your ideal customer is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Taco Casa, whatever they they apparently, I don't know if they're successful. I don't even know who they are. But at the end of the day, is they're new. They're very clear on who their customer is,
Mm-hmm.
and that's who and that's exactly what we were talking about, is being
Yeah.
clear on who your customer is, so that you're serving that customer. And you look at it as a dartboard, right? The ideal customer is that little red circle
Yeah.
in there. Everything else is kind of bonus, but I
Mm-hmm.
want to keep hitting that 50, right?
Yeah.
50 is
We stacking up, and I hit those 50.
that sucker's stacking up quick. And if I hit a 10 or a 5 or a triple 5, fabulous. I got some extra in there. That's bonus. But I want to keep, I so want to keep to my ideal customer. That's who I built the business around, to serve that customer, because I saw a need or something that needed to be filled in that marketplace. Now I want to expand that marketplace, but I got to be careful how I do it, because if I start catering to the edge,
Mm.
I might lose the middle.
Yeah, true. Absolutely. And that's a great way of thinking. That's why I think of these two, putting them together. You're gone to the edge, and yeah, you're stacking up points like in a huge thing, but you missed out on the middle. The middle was your magic. That was where the magic happened. What about Paul? Okay, so there's a couple of things that I'm thinking of, and I know our time is expiring, but I was thinking about, okay, where does sales go in this thing, as far as we're identifying what are the likely reasons why this business died. Maybe sales
My
effort.
favorite. You hit my favorite. All
Okay.
right. We got a pet peeve going down here.
Okay.
The first thing that a lot of companies do, and this is accountants that are running organizations, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is they're losing money, or they're not growing as fast. What do they do? Well, the salespeople make too much money, so let's cut the sales.
Yeah. Let's cut the lifeline.
Yeah, all
No
right.
more oxygen.
It's slowly diving, and then it just goes to the floor. They
Mm-hmm.
soak up whatever deals are in the pipeline, and there's no more deals, because they killed their lifeline, which is the salespeople. Don't fire your salespeople.
Yeah.
Make
Yeah.
sure that they have what they need to go out and grow the revenue stream. That's the last person you fire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's
They're
insanity.
they're in the trenches every day, and they're bringing the new business in, or they're reactivating old business and so forth.
Get rid of the bad salespeople.
Yeah.
Get rid of the ones that aren't performing to the numbers, the KPIs,
Mm-hmm.
and keep all the good ones, and find some more good ones.
Yeah.
Find some more to bring in if you're going to cut. But cutting, I've seen companies cut their number 1, number 2 salespeople because they make too much money. I was like, what kind of idiotic move is that?
Yeah.
You just cut the good guys.
You just dammed up your stream.
They're making so much money because they're executing. Doesn't make any sense. So
What about
yeah.
Okay, so 2 more that I had in my mind, and you may think of others, like the things that I would anticipate. If we've done this a little while, we're looking at this business, it's on the table, we've kind of washed the business off, we've kind of taken our scalpels, we've looked through, we've uncovered these things. Where does like marketing, like your online presence, or your social presence, or just your physical presence, your location, where does that marketing, research and development, and even technology, I know that I gave you 3 or 4 of them, but like, would we find traces of, yep, that was probably a problem, the lack of technology or use of technology or whatever?
Well, it just so depends on the business. Okay. But I mean, at the end of the day, you have to apply technology to create efficiencies. Marketing is a predecessor to sales. If you're not marketing, you're not going to sell much.
Yeah.
Location, depending on the business, because location sometimes doesn't matter anymore in this day and age, because you're getting your leads from internet. I would just say, because we do need to wrap up. In a close up, are you paying attention? Are you paying attention? Are you sitting down and strategically thinking about the business?
Yeah.
And do you have a good plan? And are you measuring yourself and your business? Are you stuck in a place of you've grown as much as you can grow without bringing more people on, which is where we started?
Mm-hmm.
And if you are, is your mindset right to grow your business?
Yeah.
And really think on those things. And take that 2 hours a week and sit down, strategically think about your business and start planning your growth.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be at this number. What do I got to do to get there? Who do I got to hire to get there? What kind of money am I going to need to get there? What kind of technology am I going to need to get there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And when you've answered those questions, then you'll be able to plan it out and you'll get there.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we won't have to autopsy you on our table. Yeah. There will be no post-mortem. Then we'll say, like, man, like we need to evaluate successful businesses. Look at this guy go. What is his secret? Probably the reverse of what we just talked about.
And to that point, if you run a sales cycle, make sure you're post-mortem that too. Mm-hmm. What's working, what's not.
Yeah.
Good deal. So that you know.
Loved it.
All right. Wow, that was a lot today. We just dumped a lot.
Yeah, we did a lot today, and each one of them probably standalone episodes, but kind of compressing them in here, maybe we'll come back around and flesh out one or two that stand out to our audience a little bit better.
All right. Have a great Thursday. I'll see you next Thursday.
Okay. We'll talk then.